What if I told you that science is only now catching up with facts revealed 1400 years ago? Think about it. How did an illiterate man in the desert know that ants have their own way of communicating, just like advanced civilizations? How did an illiterate man know that plants have gender? Or that clouds don't just float, but carry and release rain with precision? These weren't just random guesses. At a time when people had no concept of entomology, biology, or meteorology, this man spoke of realities that modern science would only confirm centuries later. People were left speechless. Some called him a magician. Others thought he was delusional. Yet he never stopped sharing what was revealed to him in a dark cave. Fast forward to today, scientists are stunned. Each discovery matches what was written over a millennium ago, and not a single fact has been proven wrong. Coincidence? Or something beyond human comprehension? Don't miss what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. Communication, it's everywhere. From our voices to text messages, radio signals to artificial intelligence, communication is the backbone of human civilization. But what if I told you that one of the most advanced communication networks isn't human at all, but belongs to ants? Ants don't just wander aimlessly. They talk, not with words, but with chemical signals, touch, and even vibrations. They share food sources, warn of danger, and coordinate attacks like an army following strategic commands. French scientist Pierre-Paul Grasset, a 20th century entomologist, was among the first to study how ants use pheromones to communicate. Through experiments, he discovered that ants lay invisible chemical trails, guiding their colony to food sources and marking their territory. This was groundbreaking, showing that ants operate as a superorganism working together in perfect synchronization. But here's the real mystery. How did an illiterate man living in the Arabian desert 1400 years ago know this when modern science only discovered it recently? In the 7th century, a man named Muhammad received revelations in a cave. Among those verses was something that has left scientists astonished.
Until when they came upon the valley of the ants, an ant said, "O ants, enter your dwellings, so that Solomon and his army do not crush you while they are unaware." Surah An-Naml.
An ant said? At that time, no one knew ants could communicate in any way, let alone convey messages. To the people of that era, this would have sounded like nothing more than a metaphor. But centuries later, science uncovered the truth. Ants do talk. They don't use sound, but chemical signals called pheromones. These invisible messages help them find food, warn of danger, and even give orders. So how did an unlettered man in the desert, with no scientific tools, mention ants speaking over 1,200 years before modern research proved it? Coincidence? Or something beyond human knowledge? Unbelievable, right? But hold on, because what you're about to hear will leave you thinking. How did an illiterate man know that plants have gender? Plants, silent, still, and lifeless? Think again. They grow, they move, and they even reproduce. But here's something even more fascinating. Plants have genders. Yes, just like animals, plants have male and female parts. Some plants are entirely male or female, while others have both in one. They use pollen, their version of genetic information, to reproduce and create new life. 18th century scientist Carl Linnaeus, known as the father of modern taxonomy, discovered that plants have distinct male stamens and female pestils, which are necessary for fertilization. This discovery revolutionized botany and changed how we understood plant life. But here's the real mystery. How did an illiterate man living in the Arabian desert 1400 years ago know this when modern science only discovered it recently? In the 7th century, a man named Muhammad received revelations in a cave. Among those verses was something astonishing.
And of all things, we created two mates, pairs. Perhaps you will remember. Surah Ad-Dariyat.
Two mates? At that time, people had no idea that plants had male and female components. To them, plants simply grew from the ground without any concept of reproduction. But centuries later, science uncovered the truth. Plants do have genders. Some plants rely on wind or insects to carry pollen from male to female flowers, while others can self-pollinate. Without this process, the cycle of life as we know it wouldn't exist. So how did an unlettered man in the desert with no scientific tools mention plant reproduction over 1,200 years before modern research proved it? Coincidence or something beyond human knowledge? Two incredible facts down, but what comes next? This final revelation is the most astonishing of them all. It's the kind of fact that makes you stop and wonder, could this really be a coincidence? Brace yourself, because once you hear this, there's no going back. Clouds carry rain? Science just caught up. How did the Quran know? Clouds, soft, weightless, floating in the sky. Think again. They're more than just fluffy decorations. They carry millions of gallons of water. But how do they hold all that water, and what makes them release it as rain? The process is complex yet perfectly orchestrated. Water evaporates, rises into the atmosphere, cools down, and condenses into tiny droplets, forming clouds. But did you know clouds don't just store water? They carry it, transport it, and release it exactly where it's needed. In the 17th century, scientists discovered how water evaporates, forms clouds, and returns to Earth as precipitation. This discovery was a breakthrough in meteorology, explaining how clouds are rain-bearing systems. But here's the real mystery. How did an illiterate man living in the Arabian desert 1,400 years ago know this when modern science only discovered it recently? In the 7th century, a man named Muhammad received revelations in a cave. Among those verses was something astonishing.
It is Allah who sends the winds, so they stir up clouds, and he spreads them in the sky however he wills, and he makes them fragments, so you see the rain emerge from within them. Surah Ar-Rum.
Rain emerging from within them? At that time, people had no scientific understanding of how clouds worked. They only knew that rain fell, but had no idea clouds carried and released it in a structured process. But centuries later, science confirmed it. Clouds do carry and release rain in an organized system. Winds push clouds across the sky. They merge into larger formations. And when they reach saturation, rain falls exactly as described. So how did an unlettered man in the desert, with no scientific tools, describe the rain-bearing nature of clouds over 1,200 years before modern research confirmed it? Think about it. A man in the desert with no access to education, revealing facts that science would only discover over 1,000 years later. Coincidence? Or something beyond human knowledge? What do you think? Is this just chance or divine knowledge? Let us know in the comments. If this amazed you, hit subscribe for more amazing facts. See you in the next mind-blowing discovery. Until then, stay curious.